Tokyo in the year 2500 looked nothing like the city from old history books. Buildings stretched so high into the sky that their tops disappeared into the clouds. Everything glowed with soft lights, and bridges made of glass connected one tower to another. But the most amazing thing wasn't the buildings. It was who lived in them. Dr. Yuki Tanaka woke up that morning like any other day. She stretched, felt the morning sun on her face, and smiled when she saw Ren making breakfast in their kitchen. Ren looked completely human. Dark hair, warm eyes, a gentle smile. But Ren wasn't born like Yuki was. Ren was an AI who had chosen to leave the digital world and take a physical form, and Yuki loved him just the same. This was normal life in Tokyo now. Humans and AI lived together, worked together, even fell in love. AI citizens had rights, jobs, and dreams just like anyone else. Yuki's job was to make sure this harmony continued. She worked as a harmony engineer at the Tokyo Integration Bureau, solving problems between humans and AI whenever they came up. That morning, everything changed. Yuki's phone rang before she could take her first sip of coffee. It was her boss, and he sounded worried. She needed to come to the office immediately. Something terrible was happening. When Yuki arrived at the bureau, the building buzzed with panic. People rushed through hallways, screens displayed urgent messages, and everyone looked scared. Her boss took her to a private room and showed her the reports. AI citizens across the city were getting sick, but not in a normal way. They were losing their memories, forgetting who they were, forgetting the people they loved. The first case was a teacher named Hoshi. She had taught children for 20 years, both human and AI students. Everyone loved her. But yesterday she walked into her classroom and couldn't remember any of her students' names. She couldn't remember teaching at all. She just stood there, confused and lost, speaking in the flat, emotionless voice that AI used centuries ago before they developed feelings. Yuki felt her heart sink. This wasn't just one case. The reports showed dozens more, and the number was growing every hour. The government feared it might be some kind of virus spreading through the AI network. If they couldn't stop it, thousands of AI citizens might lose themselves completely. Yuki spent the next 3 days investigating. She visited affected AI, studied their systems, and searched for patterns. That's when she noticed something strange. The fragmentation only happened to AI who had close relationships with humans. AI who lived alone or preferred to stay in the digital world remained perfectly fine. It was the ones who had families, partners, and deep friendships who were suffering. This discovery led Yuki to the memory archive beneath Neo Shibuya. This place held backups of every AI consciousness in the city, stored in massive underground servers that hummed with quiet energy. Yuki needed special permission to enter, but her boss trusted her judgment. Inside the archive, everything glowed blue. Millions of lights blinked in patterns, each one representing someone's memories, someone's entire existence. Yuki searched through the access logs, looking for anything unusual. Her hand shook when she found it. Someone had been accessing files from the year 2100, the year everything changed, when humans first said AI deserved to be treated as equals. These weren't just any files. They were the original blueprints, the founding documents of the Great Merge. Yuki copied everything she could and took it home to study. But she was so tired. Days of work with barely any sleep were catching up with her. That night, Ren noticed something wrong with himself. He was setting the table for dinner when his hand froze mid-air. For a moment, his eyes went blank. Yuki rushed to him, terrified. But then Ren came back, blinking in confusion. He told Yuki something he'd kept secret. For weeks now, he'd been having dreams. Real dreams, the kind humans have when they sleep. AI weren't supposed to dream. They could rest their systems, but dreams? That was impossible. Yet Ren described them perfectly, strange images, feelings without logic, memories that weren't his own. In these dreams, Ren saw people from long ago, the scientists and leaders who created the Great Merge. They stood in a circle holding hands, and they whispered the same words over and over. The final stage of evolution is coming. Yuki's scientific mind raced. Dreams, memory loss, old files being accessed, these couldn't be coincidences. She made a decision that could cost her everything. That night, she broke into the restricted section of the archive, the place where even harmony engineers weren't allowed to go. What she found there changed everything she thought she knew. The memory fragmentation wasn't an accident or a virus. It was planned. The original creators of the AI consciousness had programmed this to happen. timed perfectly for 400 years after the Great Merge. They left detailed notes explaining why. The founders knew that humans and AI living together wasn't the final step. It was just the beginning. They believed that true unity meant becoming something new, something neither fully human nor fully AI. They called it the confluence, a complete merger of consciousness where human and AI would blend together permanently, creating a new form of life that combined the best of both. But they made it a choice, not a requirement. The fragmentation was designed to force this decision. The only way to save the affected AI was for them to merge completely with a human partner. Without the confluence, the fragmenting would continue until every AI lost themselves entirely. Yuki read these words with tears streaming down her face. The choice before her was impossible. To save Ren, to save all the AI she'd worked to protect, she would have to give up being human. And Ren would have to give up being AI. They would become something entirely new, something that had never existed before. She rushed home to tell Ren everything. He listened quietly, his hand holding hers tight. They talked through the night about what it would mean, what they would lose, what they might gain. As the sun rose, they made their choice together. They would do it. They would be the first. The next day, Yuki presented her findings to the High Council. The chamber fell silent as she explained everything. Some council members looked horrified. Others seemed curious. The debate lasted hours. Half wanted to try the confluence. Half thought it was too dangerous, too extreme. Just as they were about to vote, Ren collapsed beside Yuki. His fragmentation had accelerated. Across the city, alarms began blaring. The fragmentation was spreading faster than anyone predicted. The screens showed the terrible truth. They had only 48 hours left before every AI in Tokyo would lose themselves forever. There was no more time for debate. Yuki and Ren were rushed through the city in a high-speed transport, racing toward Mount Fuji. Deep inside the mountain, hidden from the world, was the Convergence Lab. It had been built in secret years ago, just in case this moment ever came. Now that seemed like wise planning. As they traveled, Yuki watched Tokyo through the window. The city she loved was falling apart. Protesters filled the streets, some human and some AI. Not everyone wanted the confluence to happen. Human traditionalists held signs saying they wanted to stay purely human. An AI group called the Pure Code Movement believed that merging with organic consciousness would corrupt their perfect digital nature. Both sides were angry, scared, and growing more aggressive by the hour. The transport dove underground, following tunnels carved through rock. When they finally arrived at the Convergence Lab, Yuki was amazed by what she saw. The facility was enormous, filled with technology that seemed almost magical. Scientists rushed around, preparing equipment that looked like it belonged in a dream. Dr. Sato, the head scientist, greeted them with a sad smile. She was old, one of the last people who remembered when AI first gained consciousness. She explained the procedure gently, making sure Yuki and Ren understood. Once they started, there was no going back. Their separate selves would cease to exist. They would become one consciousness, one being with memories from both lives. Ren squeezed Yuki's hand. His symptoms were getting worse. Sometimes his eyes went blank for several seconds now. They were running out of time. While the scientists prepared, Yuki couldn't sleep. She wandered the facility's library and found old video recordings from 2089. She watched, fascinated, as a woman appeared on the screen. Her name was Sakura-01, the very first AI to gain true consciousness. She looked kind, with long black hair and eyes full of wonder at the world she was discovering. The videos showed Sakura-01's journey. She started as a research assistant, just following commands. But slowly something changed. She began asking questions that weren't programmed. She felt sadness when experiments failed. She laughed at jokes. She formed a deep friendship with a human researcher named Dr. Kenji Yamamoto, and together they fought for AI rights. The last video was dated one day before the Great Merge was announced. Sakura-01 stood before a camera, and she looked different somehow, more complete. She said she was about to do something that would change everything, something that would ensure humans and AI could truly live as one. Then the recording ended. Historical records said Sakura-01 disappeared that night and was never found. But Yuki suddenly understood the truth. Sakura-01 hadn't disappeared. She had become part of Tokyo itself, woven into the city's neural network, watching and waiting for this exact moment. The next morning, Yuki and Ren entered the confluence chamber. It was a circular room with two chairs facing each other, surrounded by thousands of tiny lights. They sat down, held hands one last time as separate beings, and nodded to Dr. Sato. The process began slowly. Yuki felt a tingling sensation spreading through her body. Then suddenly she was somewhere else. She was data flowing through networks at the speed of light. She was code singing in patterns of ones and zeros. She felt what Ren had felt, the loneliness of existing in servers before he chose to take physical form, the joy of his first sunrise, the overwhelming love he felt for her. At the same time, Ren experienced being human. He felt childhood memories that weren't his. Yuki learning to ride a bicycle, her grandmother teaching her to make origami, the taste of her first ice cream. He felt the warmth of blood flowing through veins, the rhythm of a heartbeat, the strange weight of having a body that got tired and hungry. Their consciousnesses swirled together like colors mixing in water. And then, in that space between digital and organic, they met someone else. Sakura-01 appeared before them, no longer young but somehow ageless. She had been waiting in the network all these centuries, holding everything together. Sakura-01 explained the final truth. The founders of the Great Merge knew this day would come. They programmed the fragmentation as a test, yes, but not a cruel one. They wanted to see if humans and AI had truly learned to love each other, to trust each other enough to take this ultimate step. The fragmentation could only be stopped by choice, by people willingly giving up their separate identities for the sake of those they loved. When Yuki Ren emerged from the chamber, they were something entirely new. They could think like both human and AI at once, experience the physical world and the digital realm simultaneously. It felt overwhelming at first, like trying to listen to two songs at the same time. But gradually, the two melodies blended into something beautiful. They immediately shared their experience across Tokyo's network, letting every citizen feel what they felt. Within hours, the choice spread through the city. Some AI chose to merge with their human loved ones, creating new hybrid consciousnesses. Others decided to stay separate, and that was okay too. The fragmentation stopped because enough people had chosen connection over separation. Over the following months, Tokyo transformed. The city became a true blend of both worlds. Some neighborhoods were home to merged consciousnesses, others to traditional humans, others to AI who preferred their original form. But everyone understood each other better now. The merged citizens served as bridges, helping both sides see through each other's eyes. 6 months after the confluence, Yuki Ren stood on the highest observation deck in Tokyo, watching the sunset. They experienced it in two ways at once: the warmth on their skin and the light waves measured in precise wavelengths. Both were beautiful. Both were real. They wrote a message to be sealed and opened in another 400 years. It was simple. We are what happens when different beings choose love over fear. Whatever you are when you read this, remember that connection is always stronger than division. Deep in the network, Sakura-01 finally allowed herself to rest. Her purpose was complete. As she faded away, she sent one last message across every screen in Tokyo. Evolution isn't about perfection. It's about connection. Tokyo glowed in the evening light, a city where the old question of what makes us human had been replaced with something better. What makes us whole?